Hi guys, how you doing? I hope that you are all well. My name is Jacqueline. I'm an advocate for violence against women and girls. I'm an award-winning author, and I'd like to also discuss some of the things within the Black community that go unrepresented or not reported as much. Not so much, um, not always in the UK, but around internationally, basically. So yeah. So last week I came to you with a story that took place in Grenada, and I tried to find more about it on the news, but it was more on social media and a couple of I guess community newspapers, and it came across my timeline because I was actually talking to an associate in Grenada, and he highlighted that that two young ladies had been unalived, and obviously it took the community, um, it shocked the community. So I thought I'd come on here and quickly um, comment on what was going on and what has happened since, because there has been an update. So first and foremost, this is this. Let's remove that one. This one. Okay, so I think because it erupted so much was because the incidents that took place in February this year, within 5 days of each other. So that obviously that's shocking in itself. But the fact that it took place in February, we just started the new year, and two young girls had been unalived. So I just want you to know their names. And the first one was 18-year-old Tereshel Sebastian. I think that's how you pronounce it. I hope I've pronounced it correctly. And she's from St Andrews, and she was a sales assistant. So she was 18 years of age. And the other young lady was Alexandra Let Hippolyte. She's 22 years old, and she's a student nurse, and she's also from St Andrews. So these two guys have been arrested, and Grenada. It took place in Grenada, and Grenada has sent an update based on these two incidents and the march that took place in Grenada against this awful tragedy. So one of the newspaper articles said Grenada upstates domestic violence law to protect long-term cohabiting couples. So I'm assuming, correct me if I'm wrong, was that if a young lady was attacked and they were not married, then nothing could be done. I don't know. I wonder if someone can probably explain that to me. But anyway, yeah, Grenada has gone on and said that they have updated their domestic violence laws, and to protect cohabiting couples. And cohabiting means that you're not married. So this is what the explanatory notes say. Sorry, the bill seeks to amend the Domestic Violence Act, Chapter 84, the Principal Act, to revise the definition of the term cohabitant, to expand the scope of domestic violence to include forms of abuse inflicted through electronic or digital means, namely cyberbullying, cyberstalking, and online harassment, and to expand the definition of emotional, verbal, and psychological abuse to expressly include unwelcome or intimidatory contact and the dissemination of intimate images. So that's what they've that's part of what they've that's the explanation that they're giving. So he went on to say that the amended bill goes on to say that, let's find the right one here. Yeah, Domestic Violence Amendment 2026, amendment of Section 2 of the Principal Act. Section 2 of the Principal Act is amended as follows: by repealing the definition of cohabitant and substituting therefore the following new definition. So this is the new definition for cohabitant means in relation to a woman, a single man who is living or has lived together with a single woman as husband and wife on a bona fide domestic basis continuously for a period of not less than 5 years, or in relation to a man, a single woman who is living or has lived together with a single man as husband and wife as a bona fide domestic basis continuously for a period of not less than 5 years. Okay, so by repealing the definition of domestic violence and substituting, therefore, the following new definition. So this will be the following new definition. Just bear with me. So let's have a look. Okay, so this one, no, this is the right one. Yeah, this one. So, domestic violence means any controlling or abusive behavior that harms the health, safety, or well being of a person or any child and includes the following: physical abuse or threats of physical abuse, sexual abuse or threats of sexual abuse, emotional, verbal, or psychological abuse, economic abuse, intimidation, harassment, um, stalking, including cyber stalking, cyberbullying, damage to or destruction of property, or entry into the applicant's residence without consent where the parties do not share the same residence. So I'll stop there. So, of course, if you want to read more about that, you can go ahead and download the Domestic Violence Amendment Bill 2026 that Grenada has now amended. And I just wanted to point out, because here people say domestic violence. I prefer to use the term domestic abuse. I use the term domestic abuse because it encompasses all of those things that we have mentioned. And I think if a young or a person is affected um, by domestic violence, no, not domestic violence. If I feel as if if they've been affected by any of the other things that have been mentioned, emotional, psychological, economic, they may not feel as if they're being abused because they only consider abuse when as being violent. Do you see what I mean? So, okay, so I may be emotionally abused, I may be intimidated, I may be harassed or cyberbullied, but they may not consider that as abuse because it doesn't because they only know abuse as being violent, and those things are not violent. So yeah, so I mean, I talk about this all the time. I've spoken with survivors of domestic abuse. Um, you know, clearly a lot more education, because sometimes you feel as if you're talking and people are listening, but then you hear another story. So I took it upon myself to write a book about domestic abuse. This is called Walk Quiet, Run Quick. It's a fictional book, but it's based on an ordinary young woman who never in a million years thought that she could be a victim of domestic abuse. She was well educated, she had a good job, she had her own business. And that's to say that domestic abuse doesn't discriminate. So I wrote this book to highlight that it can happen to anybody, and also the fact that it names some of the different types of abuse and some of the red flags that can be seen in the relationship that you may take it for granted. Oh, that's just the way that person is. Oh, they didn't mean anything by it, making excuses. But I think it's important to know what the signs are, so that obviously it makes you more aware. And the other book that I wrote was called The Relationship Jigsaw. I wrote this some time ago, actually. And this one also was to highlight, to be used as a resource, an educational tool, to highlight the red flags and what happens in a relationship if you feel that it is abusive, and what should a normal relationship look like. you know, because some people have no idea whatsoever what a normal, you know, relationship should look like. So, yeah, I thought I'd bring this story back to the forefront to give you an update, to let you guys know what has been going on and the amendment that Grenada has made um, with regards to people who cohabit together. So I just want to congratulate Grenada in that respect. And I hope that even though this amendment has been made, I mean, I found this online. I don't know if anybody has actually, you know, in Grenada has gone out and searched it for, you know, searched for it for themselves to see what the amendments are. But I think it's important that one follows up in terms of within communities to talk about domestic abuse and, you know, the red flags and to keep on having these conversations, and not just between women, it should, and girls, it should be between the whole community, you know, men as well, boys as well, you know. So collectively our voices can rise and we can make a difference. So yeah, I hope that helps, that may help someone out there, that yeah, domestic abuse doesn't discriminate, but if we know what the signs are and we educate ourselves and make ourselves more aware, then hopefully we'll be able to protect ourselves much better when we're in relationships. So that's it, guys. So, so until next time, I will speak to you soon, and you guys take care. Bye for now.